This technique involves carving and printing multiple layers from a single block to achieve a vibrant, detailed artwork. Let's get started. Hi y'all, Mr. Todd Bradley here. I have been working on an 8-color lino print, and I thought that I would bring you along and show you my tips and my mistakes. Let's go. Here you can screenshot a list of supplies you're going to need. You're going to need a Linocut block, some carving tools, a brayer, which is an ink roller, inks in different colors, printing paper, a Baron or a printing press. I also use a wooden spoon, some pencils and paper for sketching a design or something to print out your design from, and palette knives and mixing surface. I use a glass block that I've taped the edges of, the sharp edges off with. Right off the bat, I decided that I wanted to print a background color. So on a blank linoleum block, I printed a beige color, which I just mixed the brown and white. My first mistake was I squirted out way too much brown. You only need just a drop of these saturated colors to mix down into something more pastel-like with the white. So to get the sand color that I used, I only really needed just a drop of the brown. So I ink up just the blank block, put it in my little registration jig that I have, and printed the beige as my first print, as my first color. Then I started carving. Another issue I found with my sand color background is that I was not using enough ink. I was listening for that Velcro sound on the ink, which I had, but I just didn't have enough of it on the plate to begin with. So right after I print the background color, I go in and carve away the first layer. And I'm carving away anywhere where I want that beige to stay on the paper. So it's mostly all the background, all the blank negative space that I'm getting rid of. As you can see in the green, I keep lifting up the corner to see how the coverage is, and you can do that as long as you don't lift up the entire paper. So just lift up the corner a little bit, take a look, and then go back, and you can use the brayer or the back of the wooden spoon to burnish the paper into the ink a little bit more. My first color was actually green, which I used for the stem, the leaves, and the grass that the flower is coming up out of. Print that, and then I carve all of that away. And then the next color is a dark blue. And I use that for the shadows of the petals and for some line work on the petals as well. After I switched to the glass, at first I was using an acrylic palette, and then I switched to the glass for all the rest of the colors, and it worked much better. I also switched from a 1.5 inch brayer, I believe, and I also had much better luck with that too. You also want to think right away what you're going to be leaving behind for your final print. So I wanted a thin outline of my entire design that I'm going to be printing in black as my final color. So I needed to make sure that when I took everything away, I did leave just that thin line. And you can see on some of my final prints, because my registration was a little wonky, that you can see some of those colors under the black, almost like a little rainbow glow. In order to get the dark blue, I just mixed a little bit of black in with the blue, and same thing as with the sand color, just a touch of that black went a long way. And that small brayer also worked out really well for just doing the small pieces of the flower. They didn't need to ink up the entire block. The third color I use is a medium blue, which originally I was not intending on using, but I ran into a design problem where and leaving the thin line behind and the design, the detail in the petal, I needed another color to make that stand out. So I mixed up a medium blue. You can see in the top portion of my Linocut that it's green. Something I did not do, also another mistake, is I should have stained the entire Linocut before I even started. Or I could have done that first print and then stained it. Staining it just helps you see where you're carving, because it's really difficult to see the carving if you just leave it pink, because the carving in the depth doesn't leave enough of a shadow for you to see where what you've done. But if you stain it and you carve it away, you're left with the contrast between the green and the pink, and it's much easier to see where you still need to go back and remove. So the next color I use is then a very light blue for the highlights of the petals, which just ended up being 2 little pieces of the whole thing. Now, when you're doing the reduction print, you also need to plan ahead and think how many prints you're going to have, because you have to print them all at the same time. I didn't quite plan enough, because I also wanted to do one print that had the entire series. So starting with a blank sheet of paper, then the background, and then one with just the next 2 prints, and then one with the next 4 prints, just so you can see the progression of the entire thing. See some of the prints drying out in the sun. You do need the ink to be dry before moving on to the next color. And with some of these details, I was only carving just a little bit away, so it went very fast. So I took advantage of the sun. Here I'm mixing yellow for the petals, light yellow. Also, I only needed just a just a touch of the yellow to get the color that I wanted. Something I should have thought of when I started printing this, which I did think of it, I just didn't do it, I don't know why, is I wanted to print from light to dark. So the first color I printed probably should have been the yellow. That would have been the lightest, because I did have difficulty with the light yellow, even getting coverage. It still looks blue on the final print. Or maybe like almost like a turquoisey green. And same thing when I was doing the 3 different shades of blue. It would have been much easier to get a strong light blue if I had started with that color first and then worked towards the dark colors. Always remember to try and carve away from your hands and away from your body. Those instruments are very sharp. When I had transferred my design onto my block, I did it using a acrylic transfer technique, which is great for single color carving, but doing the reduction print is not good. So I would have been much better off just copying the design over using either carbon or taking the back of the pencil and putting the carbon on the back of the design and then tracing it onto the block that way, and then marketing it in with permanent ink like a Sharpie. So I had issues right off the bat with the design. I needed to keep copying it over because the acrylic kept peeling up. And my final color, like I said, is black. So I did still use the small roller to put the black on, just because I really like the sponginess of that rubber on the small roller. You can see the final print there.